Hey everyone, welcome to June's collective reading. I hope that May brought you all of the wonderful Two of Wands energy and the full energy that the reading last month forecasted, and I hope that it was really nice for you. June, we've got a hefty dose of inner work. I've already got the cards pulled over here, and I'll get to those in a second. But before I went too much forward with the reading, I wanted to just make a few announcements. One is I want to just thank you, first off, for being here with me. It means the world to me, and every time I see a comment or a like, a message, or a new pledge, it really brings me a lot of joy and validation, and I so appreciate it. So thank you for being here. It's really helping me to build a little bit more of a foundation for myself and my life, and I really couldn't be doing it without my lovely community here on Patreon. So thank you so much. I did want to say that if you know of anyone who might be interested in being a part of this community, please share. I just am trying to reach as many people as I can and really build up my own foundations over here. So there's that. Second of all, I am planning on doing some guided meditations, and that is going to be coming in the next whenever, but be on the lookout. So anyone who is able to see these videos will have access to these meditations, and I think I'm going to have them available to the lowest tier as well. So just an FYI. Other than that, I did post a Q&A video on my Instagram TV as well as on my YouTube. The YouTube one is more ASMR style, but I wanted to let you all know that those videos exist in case you wanted to know a little bit more about me. It was a lot of fun and kind of like weird for me to talk about myself, so I'm going to try and do it a little bit more than I have been. So those are the announcements I have. Thank you so much for being here with me. Let's dive into the cards. So I did my usual spread for the month, and this month I'm going to start with the shadow card. And so a shadow card is really nice to pull because it can tell you the subconscious, the shadow, the invitation of the reading itself, the reason the cards showed up the way that they did. So our subconscious in June, collectively, we are learning new ways of thinking. Okay, whatever way we've been existing mentally with maybe it could be something really big mentally for you. It could show up as something really small though, but whatever it is, there's something that we are some way that we're engaging with our mental space that is no longer serving us, is no longer necessary, and so we're invited into really restructuring the way that we let our brains talk to us, even the way that we communicate with our brains, and just our mental states. Okay, the Ten of Swords is the card that showed for this position, and this just tells me that everything else in the reading is going to be based around this card. And so the Ten of Swords is it can be a baptism, it can be a movement back to the Ace of Swords. It can be this place where you have been, and many of us do all the time, engage with our brains in ways that are destructive and not helpful for us. And so the Ten of Swords is inviting us to change something. So how do we change it? Okay, so that's the point of June. That's the shadow. That's what's going to be lingering. And so you could feel uncomfortable. It could feel just confusing. But the lesson of this restructuring of our brain's patterns, the lesson of it is the Ace of Wands. So the lesson here is that we're going to be able to be reborn. The lesson is to teach us that in every moment we have the ability and the capacity to rebirth ourselves. We additionally have the invitation into pure pleasure here. The Ace of Wands, for me, sometimes shows up in a really sexual way, but not only sex with like other people or anything like that. I'm talking like sex with yourself. I'm talking eating chocolate slowly. I'm talking those really pleasurable things that just ooze that sexual energy, and maybe we'll be taught in June how to engage with that a little bit differently. We are not going to be in a fire sign at all in June. We're going to be in Gemini and then Cancer. But June, for many of us in the Northern Hemisphere, is hot. It is the beginning of when we begin to feel our clothes stick into our skin, okay? And that warmth can build inside us so much that it can be really just uncomfortable. And so we're trying to get into that comfy state of just having been cracked out of an egg and learning how to walk. Okay, we learn in June how to move in this way that is more quick. It is less comfy as the cold weather. And we are invited into the lesson that Ace of Wands brings, that we should be creative, that we should be dancing naked, that we should be doing these things that make us feel really good. So that's the lesson that June brings us. So what is the invitation? What can we dive into to really work through this lesson? And this card, the next two cards, are interesting cards to show up. The invitation into the Ace of Wands is justice. So this is, I mean, the big invitation here is to reflect on the reality. What do you like? What is it that really lights your fire? But additionally, what is it that is going on in that head that is ready to be recycled and reused and moved into something else? You're invited into recognizing that where you are is exactly where you are supposed to be. There are a few cards, a few majors that really exude that energy, and justice is one of them. No matter how difficult or no matter how wonderful a moment is, you're where you are, and that's just that. Like, that's the tea. It's not that like you are supposed to be doing anything else. The invitation is to recognize that you have been where you've been so that you can be where you are right now, and your future self is also saying that you have to be where you are right now to get to where you're going. Okay? And hand in hand with this, we've got the dirt of it. So what is the dirt of justice? That invitation into balance, into that Libra centering groundedness. And we've got the Chariot. I mean, what better dirt to work through? We've got the dirt that we are perfectly aligned, like justice, and the reality of the balancing of universal law and karma and everything happening for a reason, nothing being good or bad. We can look at the Chariot as a beautiful omen. The dirt of this is that you are where you're supposed to be. So no matter how difficult it happens to feel, or if it feels really good for you too, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. But the additional dirt of the Chariot is that we want to look at maybe ways in which we feel that we have maybe accumulated some bad karma, however we want to describe that as, bad karma, things we think that might like come back and bite us in the ass. Recycle those things, let them turn into dirt, and recycle them so that you can move forward on your Chariot and not have them holding you back so much. The Chariot in Thea's Tarot also really reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune. These two cards, like justice, with being like be mindful, be present, respect the present moment, respect your reality, do with it what you can. The Chariot shows up like the Wheel of Fortune for that, for me, with that, especially in Thea's Tarot, because this person's literally carrying the wheel on their back. Now, in Thea's Tarot, there's not a Wheel of Fortune card. It's actually been renamed the Comet. And so it's interesting to pick up on this symbolism in the Chariot. You're asked to, reflect on your wheel. Is it going to take you where you need to go? Is it flat? Does it need air? How does it feel on your back there? Do you need to put some blankets down to make it more comfortable? How can you remain with the moment and with the invitations of the present moment in order to propel yourself forward? Okay, so that loaded jumble was the invitation and the seed and the dirt of June. And so we can see already this pattern of it feels like an anchor almost, or like a brick, even like one of the bricks in the Ten of Swords here. It feels like one of these ones that's being torn away. We're invited to, in June, really, in order to restructure the way we're thinking, we have to address where we are and what the reality is. If you've been avoiding certain emotional processes, like if you've been avoiding maybe a talk with a loved one or yourself or a friend, we're asked to look at that and see the reality of the situation, take care of it, and let it be recycled into something that we can use, something that we can benefit from, because we want to continue to move forward. The Chariot showing up tells me that we are still moving forward in June. Last month we moved out of the Fool, we moved out of Two of Wands, and we're now in Ace of Wands and Justice. And so we're still in a major. So all of us collectively are still experiencing these major soul calls washing through our energy. And we're invited to work with it still in the Wands and the fire element, okay? So the next card we've got is the Releasing card. Let me get a drink really quick. The Releasing card. Either this can show up as something that we're maybe holding on to and we're ready to like let go of. That Spirit is saying, just drop it, bitch. Like, let go of it now. Or it can be something that we've recently moved through. Kind of like a past, present, future moment. This would be more in the past. For this placement, we've got an earth and air energy, we've got intellect, vision, and we've got almost a fresh thinking kind of an energy in the Child of Swords. Okay, so if you remember, we've got the shadow being the Ten of Swords. The Child of Swords comes right after that. And so this maybe is hinting at the fact that we need to release some of that so that our subconscious can actually process this new brain moment. Okay. The Child of Swords wants us to let go of that moment. We don't have to be in that moment where we're thinking so much anymore, where we're coming up with these ideas. We've got the ideas. We just need to get them going, get the momentum going. Almost take the idea and teeter it with justice and bring it back up to get us back to center. Maybe that means not being only ideas. I am guilty of that. I come up with amazing ideas constantly, but it's really hard for me to get that going. And with the Ace of Wands as our lesson, that's the invitation of being, getting that energy going. And so you can rest assured that whatever you got last month or recently, as like a ding dong moment, what the fuck, like a light bulb moment, it was supposed to come to you for a reason, and it's come there, and you can maybe take off the idea that you're new at this. Take out the idea that you don't know how you can work with this message or this idea or this new life experience, and instead look at the reality of it. Take the moment with justice and be like, oh, like give yourself more credit, I guess, is what wanted to come through there. On the flip side, what are we invited to call in? Or what is our next cycle? What is the sun that wants to shine down on us after the clouds have moved out? And we've got another earth air energy. On the flip side, we've got the Pinnacle Amazon. So how cool is that? Like in the spread, I'll show you, it is literally like this. So it is air, well, earth air, and we've got justice, and then air earth. So isn't that interesting? I thought that was really cool, the way that almost justice is almost balancing these things, almost saying, like I was saying before, get out of your head and get more into your body. Literally stop disassociating and stop halting yourself from the beautiful manifestations that you can grow with this Pinnacle Amazon. The Pinnacle Amazon is a slow mover. The Child of Swords is very quick-witted, very just can sit with and just pour out constantly, create kind of these bright, brilliant new thoughts. The Pinnacle Amazon has already planted the thoughts that they've come up with. They've got them, they're watering them. They don't need to necessarily be in that Child of Swords energy anymore, where you're creating and coming up with new, not creating externally really, but doing an internal creation kind of a thing. The Pinnacle Amazon is like, bitch, let's grow it now. So reflect on that and what, like I said before, messages have come through to you in the last month or the few last weeks that is ready for you to really look at and really see its truest form. Because with justice as well, we tend to rob ourselves of the truth because we're afraid of it. Okay? We rob ourselves of the truth because we're afraid of it. Don't do that anymore. Guilty. We need to stop doing that, because the truth of the matter is, I mean, we can get really depressing here for a moment, but the reality of all of us and our lives is that our earth is dying. And there's so little that we as individuals can do unless huge corporations do anything. But nothing's going to happen if we all just kind of, it is what it is. We have to look at the reality of it. And if we want to continue forward in a certain way, then we have to do something to change it. It's that energy. But collectively for this reading, you can take that idea and kind of shrink it down a little bit. See it in your heart space and say, what's my earth dying thing? What am I avoiding? What am I not giving the time that it deserves? Okay. The final card here, we've got the teacher of all of this, who wants to help you move through the lesson of the Ace of Wands and the shadow of the Ten of Swords, and through this like a new way of thinking, because we have a new way of being kind of energy. We've got another Wands. We've got the 9 here of Wands, which the 9 of Wands is a card when we've been doing the thing and we're almost done with the thing, but we're really tired of doing the thing. So this is a call to keep doing the thing, regardless of how difficult it is, remembering to stay present and with the thing, rather than get to a point where you burn out you either burn out or you either become just like detached from the thing that you cared so much about. Okay? So in this spread, these two cards are on top of each other, kind of, and justice is in the middle. And so in looking at this, we can also do the balance thing that I was trying to do before with the Child of Swords and the Pinnacle Amazon. We can look here and say, Our lesson, our invitation, our teacher. Our lesson here is to free ourselves, to experience ourselves in our fullest. The teacher here is to remember to tend to ourselves while we're doing this incredible work that we're doing. Even if we're tired, making time to be present in our situations and respect the reality of it. Tend to these two things. Let these cups be full of the Ace of Wands and the Nine of Wands, and let's get that balance going. You want to feel really good. You also want to birth these creations that you've got going. Pleasure's great. Pleasure's necessary, and you need to be experiencing it. But creation is also really necessary in expanding our brains and our intellect of the Child of Swords and the Ten of Swords. We're invited into this fresh new way of being, but we have to take care of ourselves still. Okay, we have to know that it's going to be hard work, but the Nine of Wands wants to walk us through it. Okay, the another really cool thing that I want to mention before I scooch is that there's a lot of energy here that wants to be contained in a way where it wants to be respected, almost, where you're invited to look at what you have right in front of you. Okay, so let me just explain what I mean. The Ten of Swords. In order to have a brain baptism, I guess we'll call it that, you have to see what's fucking wrong first. You have to pinpoint where you are perhaps flawing, where you are not engaging with your thoughts in the right way. Okay, that is being present and respecting reality. The Nine of Wands, you're in the midst of all of this work, but your body's hungry, you're tired, you're feeling mentally exhausted, you don't know how much further you can go. You take a break, you respect reality. The Child of Swords, you've got all these wonderful ideas and brilliant thought processes. You're moved into this new energy and you're really excited, but you don't know everything. And you won't know everything until you start building these thoughts into manifestations, respecting reality, right? The Ace of Wands, you birth, you crack, you ooze out, and you respect the fact that you deserve to feel good and to live your life truest to yourself. Respecting reality. Okay, it's like literally in every card. I'm going to keep going. The Pentacle Amazon. You are taking time, prepping yourself, moving through, watering these manifestations, making sure your plants aren't dry. You're dusting them. You are getting them fed. Respecting reality, realizing that the work you put in needs to be worked with. It has to be engaged with. And finally, the Chariot, my God, like that is respecting reality, period. The Chariot's ruled by Cancer, and we can think about, I said to let go of what isn't serving you anymore. The brain processes, let them fertilize those lessons that you've gone through. Maybe they've been karmic lessons. Maybe you feel like you've put some bad energy out into the world. How can you call it back, fertilize it, and repurpose it to plant the seed of justice into? The Chariot is the ultimate looking at where you are card. If you're in one chariot, if you're under one crab shell with Cancer and you're about to crawl into a new one, when you're in between shells, you don't have your home on your back anymore. You're not protected as much. You're vulnerable. Respecting reality. How can you get to that new shell? And justice is the ultimate respecting reality. It is cut and dry what it is. It's like, where are you? Where do you want to go? And how can you get there? The games that maybe you're playing in your head, they're not working anymore. Something's not connecting anymore, or something wants to be acknowledged. The way of thinking, the way of even speaking to ourselves needs to be shifted with that Ten of Swords card. Okay? So y'all, that's what I've got for you this month. I hope that the reading feels good for you. Let me know below in the comments what you think. What kind of goals do you have for June? How do you feel about June and Gemini season? How does it feel to move into Cancer season for you? What kind of things do you like to do in the summer? How does summer make you feel? Let me know. Okay? I hope you have a great June. Mwah.